There is one very important skill set that you must have if you want to be successful with commissioning. Now, a lot of individuals overlook this skill set, getting confused between testing and commissioning. But without this skill set, then it's going to be very, very difficult to manage and lead commissioning on projects. So listen to learn more about this important skill and how you can improve your skill sets to achieve success with commissioning.
You're listening to the Industrial Commissioning Association podcast, where we discuss best practices for industrial plant process and energy system commissioning. Get ready to say no to outdated industry norms and say yes to improved project performance. Here's your host, Paul Turner.
There seems to be a lot of confusion in the industry about what commissioning is really all about. Too often, testing and commissioning get confused with each other, but commissioning is not about testing. Of course, testing is one phase of the process, but commissioning is actually a project management process to complete projects. A technical background is definitely an asset when you're moving up the org chart and becoming a commissioning leader or a commissioning manager, but project management skills are what will make you most effective in these leadership roles. Commissioning is really a project management philosophy about how your project work is broken down by system for completions during construction so that they align with your overall commissioning and startup process. Without this project management philosophy, it's very tough at the end of projects to align all of the design activities and all of the construction activities with what's needed at the end of the project for things to come together successfully during commissioning and startup. And if this philosophy isn't applied at the beginning of projects, then projects run into a lot of trouble at the end when they try and make sense of all the pieces of the project. So project management skills are essential if you want to be successful with commissioning. So let's review what are the project management skills that you need to excel in your commissioning career. The commissioning process actually starts right at the beginning of projects during FEED and during procurement. So during FEED, this is where your project management skills come into play when you're working with design groups and reviewing design requirements to ensure that everything is captured from a commissioning standpoint right at the beginning of projects. The FEED phase is also where all of the lessons learned from the end of the project come back to the beginning of the project and need to be applied so that we don't make the same mistakes on the next project that we already learned from the previous project. So lessons learned are an important aspect to include during FEED, and this is really the commissioning manager's role to ensure that everything at the beginning of the project is aligning with what's required at the end of the project. Commissioning project management really hinges around the concept of systematizing your project. So a lot of projects will start out with their WBS, their work breakdown structure, but that doesn't necessarily align with a systems-based approach for how the project will be completed at the end. And this leads to a lot of disconnect. A WBS makes sense to start with at the beginning of the project from a design package completion and maybe leading into construction, but if that WBS doesn't align with a systems-based approach, then nothing's going to come together successfully at the end. So the concept of systematization right at the beginning of your project is really that project management philosophy that's required in order to define how you're going to manage the project and how it's going to be completed at the end. Another important aspect of project management skill sets that are required for commissioning is engaging during the procurement process. So as procurement packages are being prepared to procure design resources and construction resources, this is the point in time where commissioning managers need to be engaged in defining what are the requirements for commissioning, and not only just the technical requirements for commissioning, but also the project management and the skill sets that are required by design and construction resources in order to ensure that these groups that you're engaging in the project actually understand what a systems-based approach is and can align their work from a design perspective and from a construction perspective to align with this systems-based approach. Commissioning managers are also involved in procurement from a review perspective. So once proponents submit their proposals on procurement packages, it's critical that commissioning managers are engaged to review each proponent's proposal to make sure that the groups that are being engaged in the project can actually do the work and can actually deliver what's required for commissioning. As part of any good project manager, communication skills are critical, and this is particularly true for commissioning managers because commissioning managers are engaging with pretty much everyone on the project. So engaging with design managers, engaging with construction managers, engaging with contractors, and there's lots of communication that needs to take place. One of the biggest and strongest skills that a commissioning manager can have is being a good communicator to discuss with these groups, get groups engaged, help them understand how the project needs to be completed, and build these relationships so that everyone can work together for successful completion of the project. Commissioning managers are also very integrated into the construction completions process. And through some of these earlier discussions, this is helping these groups understand how the project is systematized, how the construction groups need to complete their work, in what packages and in what sequence, and essentially establishing your gated commissioning workflows that each portion of the project will go through at each system level. So what are your gated commissioning workflows? What are the gates that you'll review each portion of the work to ensure that it's ready to move on to the next stage of commissioning? And how will this be managed on site? There is a lot of information required to be managed and coordinated, and your project management skills as a commissioning manager definitely come into play when working with all these groups and coordinating this large amount of information. Decision-making is a critical aspect of your project management skills as a commissioning manager. There's a lot of things going on site on a daily basis. There's lots of pieces to the puzzle, and there's a lot of decisions to make in real time. So earlier in the project, you may have the luxury of having a week to make a decision, but during fast-paced on-site commissioning, your team is coming to you and they're looking for answers right away. If they come to you with a question, they need an answer maybe right on the spot on what the next steps are or how to proceed. You need to be able to gather all this information, even if you don't have all of the information, maybe with only 80% of it, and make an informed decision on the best path forward. This keeps the project moving. If instead you need to think about something and get back to someone in a week, well, that's a week's worth of testing that maybe needed that decision earlier. So commissioning definitely requires rapid decision making to keep the project moving. As the commissioning manager, your leadership skills are critically important. Everyone on the project, your commissioning team, construction groups, design groups, project managers, they're all looking to you as the leader to guide the project to completion. And as part of this, accountability and responsibility are important since you're the leader guiding the team on how to complete the project. Everyone is looking to you for your expertise and guidance on how to successfully get to the end of the project as efficiently as possible to meet time and budget constraints. So these are the number one skill sets that are required from a project management perspective when you're the commissioning manager on a project. But don't worry, even though the commissioning manager role is a big responsibility on projects, we've got resources to help you get the skill sets that you need so you can excel in your commissioning career. You can visit our site at icxa.net/courses, and you can see the resources we have to help you get these skill sets that you need so that you can excel in your commissioning management career. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening. To become a member of the Industrial Commissioning Association, visit icxa.net. Members get access to commissioning standards, procurement specifications, commissioning training and certification, plus many more specialized resources to help you with commissioning of your industrial plant process and energy systems. Visit icxa.net for more information.